And here is the language objective. This is based on ELPS 3D, which is vocabulary based. Here, who?
Students.
What are they? What's the focal point? They are speaking, and the process is they're going to specifically use these following words. Okay? Here are some helpful verbs for writing a language objective. You don't have to use these verbs, they're just helpful verbs. And I'm going to give you then a copy of a summary of the ELPS. This is not the full-blown ELPS, this is just a cheat sheet of the ELPS. Okay, a cheat sheet of the ELPS. Now remember, this is unfortunately and fortunately, it's not an option. These are compliance issues with the state. It is law that we have to base, we have to be teaching the ELPS with anyone who is a second language learner. Codified in 2006, so it's been a couple of years now.
Oh, can I get two?
These are just summaries, just like you have cheat sheets for your text. This is a cheat sheet for your ELPS, but you can look up the ELPS on the TEA website and get the full-blown version. But really, we're looking at these 5 areas. Learning strategies, listening, speaking, reading, writing. Anything with a C on it, those are your student expectations for the ELPS. So these are how you can base, where you can base your language objectives off of. How do you know what order to go in? You choose that, okay? The state has not required you have to go in a specific order. You have to follow it in this sequence. No. Depending on what your lesson is, you decide as a professional what language objective would most benefit your students and would be most effective through that specific content lesson. Okay, so then at this point, I'm going to give you some chart paper and we're going to practice. Oh, there was a question, or maybe it wasn't a question, it was a comment that the agenda is not the same thing as an objective, and that's absolutely true. An agenda is something like, okay, we're going to have deer time, then we're going to do some math, maybe some fractions, then we're going to do a science experiment, then we're going to have recess, that's a schedule or an agenda for your class, but they are not objectives. Okay, they are not objectives. Objective is a specific goal of your lesson. One of the questions was, I feel like some of my objectives are getting really wordy. In that case, you might want to look at what the actual goal of your lesson is going to be and break it down. So the text might ask for example, the social studies example, students will be able to identify government leaders of the city, state, and country by constructing a book of leaders. Well, depending on what your lesson design is, you may not go through city, state, and country all in one lesson. In that case, break it down. Make it truly speak to what the goal of the lesson is going to be. Because when you review this with your students should be able to say, yeah, I can identify a city leader. Yeah, I can identify a country leader. Yeah, I know what the difference between each one of those is. So it should really be totally aligned. Let's start with K. Is this K? Or is this K? Are they both K?
This is actually a 1-2.
Okay, 1, 2, and
K1.
tell me the grade levels here.
K1.
K1. Okay, it's also K1. So we'll just start over here. Tell me who?
Students.
What are they doing? What's the goal of the lesson?
Describe animals.
Okay, and then the process?
They're going to make a bubble map.
They're going to make a bubble map. Okay, so I think here the goal will be to describe animals using adjectives, right? That's probably what's in the actual text.
Will be appropriate use of adjectives, maybe? What would be?
Yeah, probably that's what's the point of the tech is, right? To actually use the adjectives when they describe the animals. Okay, very good. And then the activity or the process is going to be through a bubble map. Perfect. Another thing that some teachers do is to make it even more kid-friendly is they make it more personal and say, I will describe. So we'll say, today we are going to describe an animal, animals using adjectives, and we're going to do that through a bubble map. Okay. Language objectives. Who? The students.
Or we. It's okay to put we.
Absolutely.
Doing it for the students almost right.
We
Yeah.
or I, okay, will be able to, okay, so what is the language domain being targeted here in this lesson?
Speaking and writing.
Speaking and writing, and you see how it is totally aligned with the content. It's specific to the animals that they were describing. Okay, very good. Here, social studies content objectives. Students will be able to identify government leaders of the city, state, and country, and I think they decided at the end that they had written actually 3 objectives in one. So they're going to break it up. So one day will be city, the next lesson will be state, the next lesson will be country. And then the process is by constructing a book of leaders. Okay? Their language objective, which will probably be the same for all 3 lessons, so that doesn't even have to change. What is their target going to be? Listening, reading, speaking, reading, writing.
Speaking and writing.
Speaking, listening.
Okay, so this one will be speaking, and then at some point they're going to write. Okay, very good, perfect. On this side, 4th grade science, students will be able to explain how adaptations help organisms survive.
Help them.
Help organisms? What did I say?
I'm sorry.
I don't know. I don't know what I said. I thought I said something else. Did I say help?
No.
I
Okay, I don't know.
I wasn't following yours.
Okay. Students will be able to explain how adaptations help organisms. Yeah, organisms survive in their environment by observing and classifying different animal pictures. Okay, so who?
Students.
What are they doing?
Explain how adaptations help organisms survive in their environment.
Yes. Okay. So by the end of the lesson, the students should be able to explain how the adaptations help these organisms survive in the environment. Okay, and how are they going to do that?
Classifying different animal pictures.
Okay, very good. Language objectives. Students will describe physical adaptations using words such as camouflage, mimicry, and metamorphosis. Perfect. Okay, what would be the target, the language domain being targeted here in the language objective?
Speaking.
Is that what you all intended? Very good. Okay, good. So then, do you all feel comfortable with the parameters of content and language objective writing? Okay, now let's talk about what that's going to look like in your classroom. You all can decide how that's going to look like. Some of the teachers that I've observed along the way, they handwrite it out for their 4 subject areas. Other teachers think that takes too long and they type it out and they have like sheet protectors and just insert it. Some teachers, if they have like a 3-part, like a 3-day long one, they will write it out and then just erase the keyword that they're focusing on each day. So in this case, it would be they erase the word city and replace it with state the next day and then replace that with country next day. It really doesn't matter. You guys decide how you want it to be displayed. You guys decide if you want to use the word students or I or you or we. You guys decide if you want to use abbreviations like students will be able to or SW students will. Okay. Yes.
When I observed in high school, they had it up because I'm loving the smart boards. The teacher had it come up on the smart board every
Perfect.
day when they walked in. Is that something that can be done?
Sure.
Okay. Even for this age level?
Sure.
Okay.
But you don't have it.
Do you have a smartboard in your room?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not.
That's the other question that's leading to that. If somebody comes in to serve and it's not there, but it's in the beginning of class and then from there we go to the lesson, how does that?
Right. Well, ideally, when I try to do my observation especially with the upper grades, to stay for a longer period of time so that I could see a full length cycle, and in that case, I would have been able to observe
Okay.
that, but, that's okay, that's okay. As long as the students have it displayed, they have to be able to visually see it, they have to have it examined, so tell them, this is what we're doing today, and then reviewed at the end of the lesson. Okay, so,
Orally?
I'm sorry?
Can it be orally only?
It should be displayed as well, at some point. Okay? Displayed and orally reviewed with the students. Okay, so those are the guidelines for content and language objectives. Are there any questions about how to write them? I mean, it's not complicated, you have to be able to articulate what your lesson is going to be. If you can articulate your lesson, it's probably well designed and aligned with the curriculum. Okay. Let's go on then to guidance about word walls. Word walls have lots of different purposes. Okay? There's actually different purposes in Spanish than there is in English, although there's overlap in the two. Let's talk about why we have word walls. Word walls are meant to review key vocabulary, academic word walls specifically, because we have high-frequency word walls too, or high-frequency words too, where relevant content vocabulary words are listed alphabetically. Now that's going to be more to the younger grade levels, as they're trying to learn more about the alphabet, phonemic awareness, that sort of thing. For the upper grades, it does not have to be alphabetic, and in fact the research shows that it's more recommendable that it's organized in another way, so I'm speaking more to this group here, such as by topic or by unit and that sort of thing. It was originally designed as a method for teaching and reinforcing sight words for emergent readers, okay, originally. But it has really evolved as the research has shown that it's quite effective for content words, okay? So that's why I make the distinction between the high-frequency words as well as the academic words. Now, and also, because in Spanish, because literacy is syllabic and not so much sight-based as the English is, the functions become a little bit different. So I want to clarify that this is specific to English word walls. The words should be revisited frequently throughout the lesson or unit. Okay, because there's no point in having a word wall that just has a collection of 1,000 words collected throughout the year, because kids are not really going to interact with that. Okay, they have to be revisited frequently. They have to be taught that the word walls are used as a reference the words are used as a reference. The word wall is used as a reference for these words. Specifically academic vocabulary, why? Because of a couple of reasons. First of all, research shows that second language learners, when you're talking about the predictor of their academic success, the number one predictor is going to be their vocabulary knowledge. It's not the amount of resources they have. It's not even the level of education of their parents or their background and things like that. It is their vocabulary knowledge. Why? Because their vocabulary knowledge is going to be synonymous here with their background knowledge. And the background knowledge is what's going to help them connect new information to the information that they already have. And that's how our brain works, right? So the vocabulary knowledge is going to be key here. So that's one reason why. The second reason why is especially in dual language programs where you have the students learning a second language. You all know through second language acquisition theory, your BICS is easily captured when they socialize with the other students. They are not talking about content-based vocabulary on the playground. Okay? They are not talking about city leaders and state leaders on the playground or in the cafeteria.